How to read people without them knowing. Let me start with a story. A story that's more than just words. It's a lesson, a path, and a reflection. Marcus was a young man fueled by ambition, brimming with potential, and driven by a relentless hunger for success. He was the kind of person who could light up a room with his charm and confidence. Yet despite his talents, he always felt something was missing. You see, Marcus had mastered many things, but people were his blind spot. He couldn't quite grasp the unsaid, the glances, the silences, the subtleties that could make or break an opportunity. And because of that, doors that should have swung wide open often remained firmly shut. One day, fate introduced him to Mr. Blake, a mentor with eyes that seemed to pierce through walls and wisdom that felt ancient. With a gentle smile, Mr. Blake leaned in and shared a nugget of insight that would forever change Marcus's life. He said, "Marcus, if you truly want to navigate this world, you need to understand people. Not just their words, but their fears, their dreams, and their unspoken truths. And when you master this, do it so gracefully that they don't even know you're doing it." Now let me ask you this. How many of you want that kind of insight? The ability to walk into a room and instantly read the undercurrents of emotion, intention, and energy. To connect with others so deeply and naturally that they feel you've known them forever? If you do, stick with me, because today we're diving into 8 profound ways to read people without them ever realizing it. These aren't just techniques. They're life-changing skills that will transform how you see and interact with the world. Let's begin. 1. Observe their body language. The body speaks louder than words. Think of it as a symphony, each movement a note in the intricate melody of human communication. When you pay attention, truly pay attention, you begin to hear the silent music that bodies play. But here's the thing, you have to approach it with curiosity, not scrutiny. No one likes to feel like they're being dissected under a microscope. Instead, observe with warmth, like an artist studying a masterpiece. Start with posture. It's the foundation of physical expression. Someone leaning toward you, that's like a green light, a bright signal of interest, trust, maybe even excitement. But if they're leaning away, it could be a caution sign. And sometimes it's a full-blown red alert, screaming discomfort or even disinterest. These subtle shifts can tell you a story that words might never reveal. Now let me share a secret weapon: feet. Yes, feet. While faces might mask the truth, feet rarely do. If someone's feet are pointing toward the door, guess what? Their mind might already be halfway out of the room. It's a subtle cue, but it's incredibly telling. Think of feet as the compass of someone's attention. Follow their direction, and you'll discover where their focus truly lies. But let's not stop there. Take a moment to reflect on your own body language. Are you projecting openness, or are you unknowingly creating barriers? Crossed arms might feel comfortable to you, but to someone else, it might scream, "Stay away." A stiff posture might betray nervousness or insecurity, even if your words say otherwise. Remember, communication is a two-way street. You're not just reading signals, you're sending them too. Here's another layer to consider: context. Someone crossing their arms might simply be cold. Leaning away, maybe they're giving you space, not withdrawing emotionally. It's not about jumping to conclusions, it's about seeing the bigger picture. Patterns matter. Clusters of behavior tell a richer story than a single gesture ever could. Imagine this scenario. You're in a conversation, and the other person nods, smiles, and says all the right things. But their arms are crossed, their shoulders stiff, their body angled slightly away. What does that tell you? Words are easy, but the body doesn't lie. That's the moment you realize there's a disconnect, a subtle tension beneath the surface. And when you notice that, you gain a deeper understanding, an unspoken truth. Now let's flip the script. Your body language isn't just about what others perceive, it's about how you feel. Stand tall, shoulders back, chest open. That's not just confidence, that's self-assurance, radiating from the inside out. Smile, not just with your lips, but with your eyes, your entire presence. When you project openness, you invite connection. And isn't that what we're all here for? So the next time you're with someone, don't just listen to their words. Watch their body. See the way they sit, the way they move, the way their gestures harmonize or clash with their speech. Observe with empathy, with curiosity, with the intention to understand, not judge. Because when you truly tune into the symphony of body language, you're not just hearing what's being said, you're feeling what's being felt. And that, my friends, is a game changer. 2. Watch their eyes. The eyes, the so-called windows to the soul. There's a reason that phrase has stood the test of time. Eye contact is a powerful tool. When someone locks eyes with you, it's like they're reaching out, silently saying, "I'm here, I see you, I'm engaged." It's one of the most primal forms of connection, bridging gaps that words sometimes fail to close. But like all powerful tools, it must be wielded with care. Too much eye contact, and what started as an invitation can quickly morph into confrontation. Too little, and you risk appearing detached or uninterested. So what should you look for? Start with movement. Are their eyes darting around, scanning the room as though they're looking for an escape route? That often signals anxiety or discomfort. On the other hand, steady eye contact, when paired with relaxed body language, can indicate confidence, presence, and sincerity. It's as if they're anchoring themselves in the conversation, fully present in the moment. And then there's the glance upward and to the right. You've seen it, haven't you? That fleeting look as though they're trying to pluck a thought out of thin air. This isn't always deception. It could simply be creativity, imagination, or the mental act of piecing a story together. Similarly, a downward glance might suggest introspection or even hesitation, a subtle sign that someone is searching for the right words, or the courage to say them. But here's where the eyes truly shine. Micro-expressions. These are the flashes of emotion that dance across someone's face before they have time to hide them. A flicker of sadness, a spark of joy, a momentary shadow of doubt. All of these can be captured in the eyes if you're paying attention. It's like watching the truth slip out before the mask comes back on. Let's not forget about the power of silence in the gaze. Sometimes it's not about where their eyes go, but what they're saying by staying still. Imagine someone holding your gaze just a beat longer than expected. Not long enough to feel invasive, but enough to convey, "I see you, and I value this moment." That's connection. It's intimacy. It's understanding without a single word spoken. But here's the thing. Watching someone's eyes isn't just about reading them. It's about connecting with them. If you're staring too intently, you risk making them feel scrutinized or uneasy. Instead, approach with gentle curiosity. Match their gaze when appropriate. Let it wander naturally when it feels right. And always remember that eyes, like people, tell their stories best when they're treated with care. So the next time you're in a conversation, look, really look into someone's eyes. Notice the flickers of emotion, the movements that reveal their inner world, and the unspoken messages they're sharing. Because when you learn to truly see someone, you're not just hearing their words, you're feeling their presence. And that, my friends, is where real understanding begins. 3. Listen to their tone of voice. Words are important, but tone? Tone is where the truth lives. It's the melody behind the lyrics, the heartbeat of a conversation, the undercurrent that gives words their true weight. If you really want to understand someone, you need to listen beyond the surface. Tone carries the emotion, the intent, and sometimes even the secrets that words alone can't convey. Imagine this. Someone tells you they're fine. Now, the word itself might seem reassuring, but a shaky, wavering tone betrays their anxiety. On the other hand, a flat, monotone delivery might signal detachment, indifference, or even exhaustion. The words are only part of the puzzle. It's the tone that completes the picture. Start by paying attention to the nuances. A soft tone often reflects hesitation, a need for careful thought, or even vulnerability. It's as if the person is testing the waters, unsure whether to fully open up. A loud, commanding tone might project confidence, or it could mask insecurity, an effort to compensate for self-doubt. And then there are the pauses. Oh, the power of a pause. When someone takes a deliberate pause, it could mean they're reflecting, weighing their words carefully. But if the pause is shaky or scattered, it often points to uncertainty or inner conflict. Let's take it a step further. Notice the rhythm and pace of their speech. Are they speaking quickly, almost breathlessly? That could be excitement, but it could also signal nervousness or a desire to get through the conversation as fast as possible. Conversely, a slow, deliberate pace might reflect thoughtfulness or caution, or in some cases, an attempt to conceal something. These subtle shifts in tempo are like breadcrumbs guiding you to the heart of what's really going on. But here's the thing. Listening to tone isn't just about identifying what's wrong. It's also about recognizing what's right. When someone's tone is warm and steady, it often indicates sincerity. When their voice carries a light, buoyant energy, it suggests joy or enthusiasm. And when their tone aligns perfectly with their words, you're hearing truth in its most genuine form. Here's an example. Imagine a friend says, "I'm so proud of you," but their tone is lukewarm, almost robotic. It feels off, doesn't it? Now imagine another friend saying the same words, but with a voice that radiates warmth and excitement. It hits differently, doesn't it? That's the power of tone. It doesn't just deliver the message, it colors it with emotion, making it resonate on a deeper level. And let's not forget the role of silence. Yes, silence. Sometimes what isn't said speaks volumes. A sudden drop in tone, a hesitation that lingers too long, or even an absence of sound can be incredibly telling. Silence can indicate discomfort, contemplation, or even a silent plea for you to notice something they're struggling to put into words. So how do you use this skill in your daily life? Start by tuning your ear to the emotional undercurrents of conversations. Practice listening without interrupting, letting the rhythm and tone of their voice guide your understanding. Pay attention to shifts. A sudden rise in pitch, a quickened pace, or a softening volume. Each change is a clue, a piece of the puzzle they're unconsciously handing you. But, and this is important, don't just listen, respond. Use your own tone to mirror and match theirs. If someone is speaking with hesitation, soften your voice to encourage openness. If they're animated and enthusiastic, let your tone reflect that energy. Your tone can act as a bridge, creating a safe space for deeper, more authentic connection. At its core, understanding tone is about empathy. It's about hearing not just the words, but the feelings behind them. It's about recognizing that every voice carries a story, a rhythm, a truth. So the next time you're in a conversation, listen, really listen to the tone of their voice. Because when you do, you're not just hearing, you're connecting. And that, my friends, is where the magic happens. 4. Notice their hands. Hands are storytellers. They speak a silent language, one that doesn't rely on words but on gestures, movements, and subtle cues. Imagine a clenched fist, tight, firm, almost trembling with unspoken tension. What does it tell you? It could be frustration bubbling beneath the surface, a deep-seated anger, or perhaps an overwhelming sense of determination trying to break free. On the other hand, open palms? Oh, they're like an open book signaling honesty, vulnerability, and an invitation to trust. It's as if the person is saying, "Here I am, I have nothing to hide." But let's dig deeper. Have you ever noticed the restless tapping of fingers on a table, or the incessant fidgeting with a pen, a bracelet, or even a lock of hair? These seemingly trivial actions are anything but. They're a window into someone's mind, often revealing nervous energy, uncertainty, or even impatience. It's the body's way of speaking when the mouth can't quite find the words. Now let's talk about harmony, the magical moment when hands and words align. When someone's gestures flow naturally with their speech, it's a sign of authenticity. They're comfortable, confident, and fully present in the moment. But when there's a disconnect, when their hands seem out of sync with their words, that's your cue to dig deeper. Perhaps they're hiding something, or maybe they're struggling to reconcile their thoughts with their feelings. Let's not overlook the handshake, a seemingly simple act that speaks volumes. A firm handshake? That's confidence. A weak, limp one? That might hint at insecurity or indifference. And then there's the overenthusiastic, bone-crushing grip, a telltale sign of someone trying just a little too hard to assert dominance. A handshake is more than a greeting. It's an introduction, a statement, light, and sometimes even a test. But here's the thing, hands don't just reveal emotions, they project them. Imagine someone standing in front of you, their hands open and steady, their movements deliberate and purposeful. What do you feel? A sense of calm, assurance, maybe even inspiration. Now picture someone whose hands are restless, darting around, or hidden in their pockets. The energy shifts, doesn't it? Suddenly there's a sense of unease, as if something's not quite right. And then there are the small, almost imperceptible gestures, the ones that speak the loudest if you know how to listen. A hand placed on the heart during a heartfelt conversation, sincerity. Fingers nervously drumming on a desk during a tense meeting, anxiety. A gentle touch on someone's shoulder, comfort, reassurance, connection. But let's not forget context, the lens through which all gestures must be viewed. A clenched fist might mean anger in one moment, but determination in another. Fidgeting could signal discomfort or simply boredom. The key is to look at the bigger picture, to observe not just the hands, but the entire tapestry of behavior, tone, and expression. So how can you use this knowledge? Start by observing without judgment. Notice the way someone's hands move when they're excited, the way they still when they're deep in thought, the way they gesture when they're trying to make a point. Pay attention to how their hands interact with their surroundings. Are they drawing you in or keeping you at arm's length? And remember, your own hands tell a story too. Are your gestures open and inviting, or are they closed off and guarded? Are you projecting confidence and calm, or are you unintentionally signaling discomfort? The way you use your hands can shape the energy of a conversation, creating either connection or distance. In the end, hands are more than just tools. They're storytellers, truth-tellers, and connectors. They reveal what words often can't, bridging the gap between what we say and what we truly feel. So the next time you're in a conversation, don't just listen to the words or watch the eyes. Notice the hands. Because in their movements, you'll find a world of meaning waiting to be discovered. 5. Understand their patterns. People are creatures of habit. We all have rhythms, routines, and predictable ways of reacting to the world. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how a friend's mood brightens at the mention of their favorite hobby, or how a colleague becomes grumpy when meetings stretch past lunch? These patterns, small as they may seem, are like breadcrumbs, leading you to a deeper understanding of the person. Start by observing their day-to-day behavior. Does their energy peak in the mornings, only to dip in the afternoons? Are they consistently upbeat during the weekends but reserved during the work week? These aren't random quirks. They're the rhythms of their life, the framework that shapes their responses to the world around them. And the beauty lies in the deviations, those moments when they step outside their norm. That's where insight blooms. Picture this. A usually bubbly coworker walks into the office one day, unusually quiet, their movements slower, their smile missing. You could chalk it up to a bad night's sleep, but what if it's something more? Their break from their usual pattern is a signal, a hint that something might be amiss. Or consider the opposite. A typically reserved friend suddenly lights up, speaking animatedly about a new project or idea. That shift is just as telling, a glimpse into their inner world that words alone might not capture. Patterns aren't just about timing, they're about triggers too. What topics make someone's eyes light up? What scenarios make their shoulders tense? Notice how they react to praise versus criticism, or how their demeanor shifts in different social settings. Do they thrive in one-on-one conversations but shrink in group discussions? These observations build a map of who they are, what matters to them, and what they might be silently struggling with. But as always, context is king. A deviation doesn't always mean something's wrong. Sometimes it's just a fluke. That's why it's crucial to pair your observations with empathy. Instead of jumping to conclusions, use these moments to open a door. You seem a little off today. Is everything okay? Or, you seem really excited about this. Tell me more. These simple questions show you're paying attention, that you care, and that you're present in the relationship. Understanding patterns isn't about being a detective. It's about being attuned. It's about noticing the rhythms and flows of someone's life and respecting the stories they tell. So the next time you're with someone, don't just focus on the words they say or the gestures they make. Pay attention to the broader strokes, the habits, the routines, the subtle consistencies that make them who they are. Because when you do, you're not just observing, you're understanding. And understanding, my friends, is where true connection begins. 6. Mirror their behavior. Mirroring isn't just about copying someone's movements. It's about connecting, subtly syncing with their energy, and creating a rhythm that says, I understand you. Picture this. You're in a conversation and the other person leans forward, their eyes alight with enthusiasm. If you instinctively lean in, matching their posture, you're doing more than mimicking. You're building an invisible bridge of trust and rapport. It's a small gesture, but one that speaks volumes. I'm with you. I'm here. This isn't mimicry, it's resonance. Think of it like a dance where one partner sets the tone and the other follows. When someone speaks softly and you mirror their calm tone, it creates a bubble of intimacy. On the flip side, if they're animated and expressive, meeting that energy with equal vibrance can turn a mundane exchange into a memorable connection. The key here? Subtlety. Overdo it and you risk making the interaction awkward or, worse, insincere. Nail it, and you've got magic. Let's dive into a real-life example. Imagine you're negotiating a deal with someone who's speaking in short, clipped sentences. If you respond with long, flowing explanations, the disconnect can create tension. But if you adjust your pace to match theirs, it sends an unspoken message. We're on the same wavelength. They'll feel understood, even if they can't quite put their finger on why. But mirroring isn't limited to words and tone. Watch their gestures, their pacing, even their breathing. If they're leaning back, relaxed, let your posture soften. If they're tapping their fingers in thought, allow your movements to slow, reflecting contemplation. This subtle harmony can make people feel comfortable, as though you're moving through the same current of thought. Here's a twist. Mirroring isn't just for connection. It can also gently guide a conversation. Let's say someone's speaking rapidly, their words tumbling over each other in a rush of excitement or anxiety. By deliberately slowing your own speech, you can bring a sense of calm to the exchange, subtly encouraging them to match your steadiness. It's like offering them a life raft in the middle of a stormy sea. But, and this is crucial, mirroring must be authentic. People are incredibly perceptive. If they sense you're forcing it, the magic is lost. The goal isn't to become their carbon copy, but to reflect their essence in a way that feels natural and unforced. Think of it as finding a rhythm together, like two musicians improvising in harmony. A powerful moment of mirroring can even transcend words. Imagine sitting with a friend who's just received difficult news. They cross their arms and look down, lost in thought. You don't need to say a word. Simply sitting with them, mirroring their stillness, can create a profound sense of solidarity. It says, I see you, I feel you, I'm here. Mirroring isn't just a tool for connection, it's a way to show empathy, to meet someone where they are and walk with them. So the next time you're in a conversation, don't just listen to their words. Watch their movements, hear their tone, feel their energy. Mirror it with intention, and watch as walls come down, trust builds, and the conversation transforms into something meaningful. Because when you master the art of mirroring, you're not just communicating, you're connecting on a level that words alone could never reach. 7. Read between the lines. It's not just about what's said. It's about what's not said. The pauses, the hesitations, the silences that seem to scream louder than words ever could. When someone says, I'm fine, but their tone is flat, their shoulders are slouched, and their eyes seem distant, you instinctively know they're anything but fine. Learning to hear these unspoken stories is like discovering a hidden layer of communication that most people miss entirely. Imagine you're sitting across from a friend who's just had a tough day. They assure you, everything's okay, but there's a slight quiver in their voice, a pause that lingers a bit too long. That's where the truth lies, not in the words themselves, but in the spaces between them. A pause, a sigh, a subtle glance downward. It's like a whisper from their inner world, inviting you to look closer. Silences, too, carry weight. Think of the moments when a conversation suddenly halts, not because there's nothing left to say, but because there's too much. The air becomes thick with emotion, unspoken yet palpable. Maybe it's regret, maybe it's fear, maybe it's something they're not ready to share. Respecting that silence, sitting with it rather than rushing to fill it, can be one of the most compassionate acts you offer. But how do you become attuned to this silent language? Start by listening with your whole self. Pay attention to their tone. Does it match the content of their words? Notice their body language. Are they leaning back as if to create distance, or are they fidgeting nervously? Look for patterns too. Do they always pause before discussing a particular topic? Do they avoid certain words or phrases, even when they seem relevant? These are your clues, breadcrumbs leading to the heart of what they're truly feeling. Here's an example. A coworker says, I'm not stressed, but they're tapping their pen incessantly. their jaw slightly clenched. The words deny it, but the behavior confirms it. Another instance might be a friend who insists, "I don't care," while their voice cracks ever so slightly, betraying the truth they're trying to hide. These inconsistencies are not just slips, they're windows into their emotional state, openings that invite you to dig deeper, to understand better. And let's talk about the art of following up. When you notice these unspoken cues, a gentle question can make all the difference. Instead of accepting "I'm fine" at face value, try saying, "Are you sure? You seem a little off today." Or, "You don't have to share if you're not ready, but I'm here if you want to talk." These moments of care and curiosity can help unlock the stories they're too afraid or unsure to share unprompted. But reading between the lines isn't about confrontation. It's about connection. It's about showing that you care enough to notice, that you're present enough to hear what isn't being said. It's about empathy, about holding space for someone to be vulnerable, even if they're not ready to voice their vulnerability outright. And sometimes the lines you're reading between aren't just theirs. They're yours too. Recognize how your own assumptions, emotions, or distractions might cloud your interpretation. Stay grounded, stay curious, and above all, stay kind. This isn't a game of catching someone out. It's a practice of understanding, of truly seeing the people around you. So the next time someone says, "I'm fine," don't just hear the words. Feel the hesitation. See the slump in their posture. Notice the quiver in their tone. And above all, let them know you're listening. Not just to what they're saying, but to what they're not. Because when you learn to read between the lines, you're not just having conversations, you're building connections, one unspoken truth at a time. 8. Trust your intuition. There's a voice inside each of us. It doesn't shout or demand attention, but it's there. A quiet whisper, a nudge, a feeling. That voice is your intuition, your internal compass, guiding you when logic falters, when facts fall short, or when the right path seems obscured by doubt. Learning to trust it, to let it guide you, is like unlocking a secret power that has always been there, waiting for you to notice. Think of intuition as the culmination of every experience, every observation, every subtle piece of information your mind has absorbed, even if you weren't consciously aware of it. It's the sum of your senses, working behind the scenes, piecing together patterns and signals faster than your rational mind ever could. Have you ever felt an inexplicable urge to say, "Something doesn't feel right," even though you couldn't pinpoint why? That's your intuition talking. Imagine walking into a room filled with strangers. You can feel the energy shift immediately. Maybe it's the subtle tension in the air, the way people avoid eye contact, or the overly loud laughter that feels forced. Your intuition kicks in before you can even process the details, telling you something's off here. And most of the time, it's right. But here's the challenge: listening to it. Our modern world often values logic and evidence over feelings and instincts. We're taught to second-guess ourselves, to demand proof before making a decision. But intuition doesn't operate on spreadsheets or bullet points. It operates on instinct, on the subtle interplay of emotions, experiences, and observations. The more you observe and trust your gut, the sharper it becomes. Let's consider a scenario. You're in a meeting, and everything seems fine on the surface. Everyone is smiling, nodding, agreeing, but there's one person whose body language doesn't quite match. They're too still, their tone too measured, their responses just a beat too slow. You can't put your finger on it, but your intuition starts whispering, "Pay attention to this one." Later, you discover they were harboring doubts about the plan, doubts they didn't voice. Your intuition picked up on what logic missed, the unspoken. So how do you sharpen this inner compass? Start by paying attention. Notice the patterns around you, the rhythms of people's behaviors, and how those rhythms shift in different situations. The more you tune in to what feels normal, the more easily you'll spot the subtle deviations that signal something is amiss. And here's a crucial part. Practice trusting yourself. The next time you feel that gut instinct, that little nudge urging you to take a different path or question something, don't dismiss it outright. Take a moment. Reflect. Ask yourself, what is my intuition trying to tell me? Even if you can't immediately see the logic, give it space to guide you. Over time, you'll find that your intuition becomes a trusted ally, one that rarely steers you wrong. But intuition isn't just about warning you of danger or deceit. It's also about recognizing opportunities, sensing when to act, and knowing when to speak up. Have you ever felt compelled to reach out to someone, only to discover they desperately needed support? That's your intuition connecting you to others in ways your conscious mind might never have managed. However, let's be clear. Intuition isn't infallible. It's not a magical crystal ball that predicts the future. It's a tool, one that becomes more accurate the more you use it and pair it with thoughtful observation. When combined with empathy and awareness, it transforms into a superpower that helps you navigate relationships, decisions, and challenges with grace and confidence. At its heart, trusting your intuition is about trusting yourself. It's about believing that you are attuned to the world around you, that you are capable of reading its subtle cues, and that your feelings are valid even when they defy explanation. So the next time you feel that little nudge, don't brush it aside. Lean into it. Let it guide you. Because when you learn to trust your intuition, you're not just listening to a voice inside, you're unlocking a deeper connection with the world around you. As we come to the end of this journey, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've uncovered. The art of reading people isn't about wielding power over others. It's about creating deeper, more meaningful connections. It's about understanding the silent stories, the unspoken truths, and the hidden emotions that make us human. Imagine a world where we all pause to observe, to listen, to feel. Imagine if we chose to see beyond the surface and sought to truly understand one another. The tensions that divide us would soften, misunderstandings would unravel. Trust, that fragile bridge between hearts, would grow stronger. Remember, the tools you've learned, reading body language, trusting your intuition, noticing patterns, and so much more, are not just techniques. They are keys to unlocking empathy, compassion, and authenticity. They remind us that connection isn't about saying the right words. It's about being present, being attentive, and being human. So, as you step back into the world, take these lessons with you. Let them guide you in every interaction, every relationship, every fleeting exchange with a stranger. Be curious, be kind, be willing to see what others might miss. And always remember this: the greatest skill isn't just reading people. It's loving them, flaws and all, for the intricate, beautiful, and complex beings they are. Because when we choose to truly connect, we're not just changing conversations, we're changing lives. Thank you for taking this journey. The world is waiting for your understanding, your empathy, your light. Go out there and make it brighter.